Growth and Development, Part 3, Erikson's Theory of Psychosocial Development. Erik Erikson was born in 1902 and died in 1994. He was a developmental psychologist and a psychoanalyst. His theory was built on the Freudian theory. However, Erikson's is known as the psychosocial development and takes a lifespan approach. This means that his theory covers from birth until death. His theory is also based on the healthy personality, not necessarily the pathologic. Erik Erikson studied the influences of social processes on the development of personality. He described 8 stages. Remember, Freud had 5 stages, where individuals struggle with key conflicts, which are called developmental crises. Certain tasks associated with each stage must be completed for resolution of the crisis and emotional growth to occur. Each stage has 2 components, favorable and unfavorable aspects of the key conflict. Progression to the next stage depends on resolution of the conflict. The first stage is one of the most important, trust versus mistrust, and this occurs from the age of birth to 18 months. Now, some references will state from birth until 1 year. This important task of trust must be developed in order for a healthy personality to be developed. Developing trust of the caregiver and transferring it to others or generalizing it with others is an important task or result of obtaining trust. Trust versus mistrust corresponds to Freud's oral stage. Consistent loving care with needs being met adequately and promptly result in the development of trust. If caregivers do not meet the infant's needs promptly or meet them inconsistently or inadequately, mistrust will develop and the task is unresolved. Basic trust being met results in faith and optimism. If the child is able to develop trust through care given by the parents or caregivers, he or she develops trust in others, trust in the world, and trust in self. So achievement of the task results in self-confidence, optimism, and trust, and non-achievement of the task will result in dissatisfaction with self, others, and difficulty with interpersonal relationships. Favorable outcomes of this stage are faith and optimism. The next stage is autonomy versus shame and doubt, with the age of 18 months to 3 years. Per the Townsend textbook, however, some references state 1 year to 3 years. This stage corresponds to Freud's anal stage. The major developmental task with this stage is achievement of self-control and independence. If the child achieves the task, they develop a sense of self-control, the ability to delay gratification, and self-confidence. Non-achievement results in lack of self-confidence and a feeling of being controlled by others. They may have rage against their self. Think of a toddler and how they have learned or have newly acquired motor skills. They're now able to walk, maybe they can climb, and they have the ability to make simple decisions. They want to dress themselves, they want to feed themselves. As a matter of fact, most toddlers do not like to be fed. They do not like to sit down and be fed. They want to be playing. Come up, grab some type of finger food, go off and play some more, come back, and eat something else and go back and play. They're exploring their world. They like to choose their own clothes, and they usually do not match. The most frequent word, does anybody know? Yes, it is no. No. They want to make their own decisions. Every time you ask them something, it may be no. Do you want to go to bed now? No. Do you want to take your medicine? No. Do you want to go to preschool? No. You may ask them something they want to do, and it still may be no. They are seeking that autonomy or that independence. They want to make their own decisions. They also often imitate the behavior of others. Now, if they're restricted by their parents or caregivers or belittled, they may often experience feelings of shame and doubt. However, if parents encourage and promote opportunities for independent activities, this will result in self-control, willpower, and self-confidence. I think of the ability to delay gratification that they're learning. Think of the toddler that comes to Mama and says, I'd like a cup of juice in my sippy cup. Mama's busy right then, and she says, okay, in 2 minutes, I will give you some juice. Now, they really don't have a concept of time, but they know they need to wait a little bit. Now, at this age, they're learning to delay gratification, so they may wait a little bit and not throw a temper tantrum, whereas another younger child will insist on the juice at that point. Favorable outcomes of this stage include self-control and willpower. The next stage occurs from 3 to 6 years and is initiative versus guilt. This corresponds to Freud's phallic stage. The major developmental task is developing a sense of purpose and to initiate and direct their own activities. These children have a very strong imagination and are very intrusive. They may say, what is this? Why? They ask a lot of questions. They may say, why is the ocean blue? And Mom and Dad will say, well, I don't know, or give them some explanation. But why? But why? Well, where did it come from? Well, where is it going? So they ask many, many questions, and they're exploring the world with their senses. They also develop a conscience, and many times have an inner voice warning them of threats. For example, they can remember Mama telling them not to get too close to the stove. So this inner voice is warning them of that. Now, if they undertake goals or activities that are in conflict with the caregiver's beliefs, then they may be made to feel guilty. So they need initiative without infringing on others' rights. That means that they need to explore the world. They need to play. When you get in pediatrics, you'll see that play is the work of a child. However, even though they're playing, they don't need to go over there and knock another kid upside the head just for that toy they want to play with. So they need to learn boundaries. Favorable outcomes are direction and purpose. The next stage is industry versus inferiority and occurs from the ages of 6 to 12 years. This corresponds to Freud's latency phase. These children are ready to be workers and producers. They want real achievement, and they want to carry the tasks they've started through to completion. They learn to compete with others, cooperate with others, and they learn the rules. They learn the rules of the game. It's important that they have social interactions with others. So the major developmental task is achievement of self-confidence through learning, competing, performing successfully, and receiving recognition. Achievement of the task results in self-confidence, pride in achievements, and developing good work habits. However, if the child is made to feel inadequate or inferior, they'll have feelings of inadequacy and inferiority. This can occur if too much is expected of them, or if they can't measure up to the expectations of others. I was watching one of those reality TV shows. I think it's one of those dance classes that parents put their young daughters in, and they go to these competitions. And I keep thinking of the stress that probably places on the child in order to feel that they have to win the competition in order to measure up or to be successful. So many times I think of this stage, industry, yes, they're being industrious to getting out there and competing in these dance competitions, but when they don't win first place and they feel that they've disappointed their instructor or their parents, they may have feelings of inferiority. Now, ego quality developed from industry is competence. The next stage is identity versus role confusion, and this occurs around 12 to 20 years of age. It corresponds to Freud's genital period. This age group, which are adolescents, are going to try to establish their own identity. They want to be separate from their parents, so peers are very important. They also have rapid and marked physical changes. They're in puberty. They have all those hormones raging. And they are preoccupied with the way they look to others instead of their own self-concept. They want to fit in with peers, society, and others, and they'll often struggle to do so. Think about what they see on television, magazines, and the internet. They see thin individuals, beautiful individuals. They see those that are successful, and many times they feel inadequate that they don't measure up. The inability to solve the core conflict results in role confusion. And it's not rare to hear these individuals say, "Who am I? Why am I here? What is my purpose in life?" That's where Erikson came up or coined the phrase identity crisis. So they're having an identity crisis. The achievement of the task is self-confidence. They have emotional stability, commitment to value systems, and they view themselves as unique. Non-achievement, they have doubt. They may have confusion over their role in life with a lack of goals or personal values. If they successfully master this stage, they often will develop devotion and fidelity, to others, values, and ideologies. The next phase or stage is intimacy versus isolation. The age here is 20 to 30 years, or the young adult. The major task here is forming a lasting relationship or commitment to another person, cause, institution, or even a creative effort. The achievement of the task is a capacity for mutual love and respect to another. It could also be a commitment to a career. Non-achievement of the task will result in social isolation. They may be unable to form lasting relationship. This is the individual that may go from relationship to relationship to relationship. They may also go from job to job. They just don't know where they fit in. So the task is to form a commitment to another person, cause, institution, or creative effort. Oftentimes you'll see them forming they get married, or they get married, start a family, or they commit to a relationship, to a significant other. The next stage is generativity versus stagnation or self-absorption. The ages for this are 30 to 65 years. The major developmental tasks here are to achieve self-goals previously set for self and consider the welfare of future generations. I know I'm in this stage. And I didn't get my bachelor's in nursing until I was in my early 50s. And then I didn't get my master's in nursing until I was almost 57. I won't tell you how old I am, but you know that I am older than 57. So, if they have an achievement of the task, they often are active in serving others. They feel a sense of gratification with personal and professional achievements. I know that I was more proud of my master's degree, especially at my age, than I was of my associate's degree or of my bachelor's degree. Now, I like what Townsend has to say when they quoted, "Generativity is achieved when the individual expresses satisfaction with this stage in life and demonstrates responsibility for leaving the world a better place in which to live." That's on page 37. And take time to read that again, because I think that, to me, that's just beautiful. Non-achievement of the task, oftentimes they're preoccupied with their self. They have no concern for the welfare of others, and they're unable to give of their self, maybe withdrawn and self-indulgent. I often think of that term, I'm sure some of you have probably heard of it, us for and no more. That's talking about a couple with 2 kids that all they care about is themselves and their family and no one else. And that's a sad way to be. The next stage, the last stage of Erikson's theory, the individual's reaching the end of their life. It's ego integrity versus despair, and it's from 65 years of age to death. The major developmental task here is reviewing one's life and deriving meaning of positive and negative events in one's life, that they are achieving a positive sense of self. So the achievement of the task is reviewing life and being content, although certain goals or plans weren't attained. They still have a sense of dignity and self-acceptance. Think of that older individual that maybe did not get their high school diploma, and now they feel like it's too late. But some of them are accepting of it and say, you know, that would have been great had I gotten my high school diploma, but I've done okay in this life. I've married, raised a family, worked all these years, and now I'm retired, and I've had a good life. Whereas others may feel helpless. They may be very disgusted with their life, very dissatisfied, and they often want another chance at life, which we all know that's impossible. I wished I had another chance. I'm sure others do, that we could do things over. But guess what? We just have that one chance. This person may fear death, may deny death, and at times may be suicidal. Whereas the person that has achieved the task may not have any fear of death at all, or just have a small amount of fear. They realize that death is part of the lifespan. According to Townsend, ego integrity is achieved when individuals have successfully completed the developmental task of the other stages and have little desire to make major changes in how their lives have progressed. Relevance of psychosocial development to nursing practice. Erikson's theory of psychosocial development is useful in psychiatric mental health settings, since Erikson's theory provides a systematic approach with specific tasks that need to be completed in each stage. Many times, individuals with mental health issues or problems are still struggling with tasks from earlier stages or various stages. The mental health nurse can assist the client in completing these tasks and, per Townsend, move on to a higher developmental level. That's found Townsend, 2009, page 38. This is the end of part 3.